Hi, today I am planning to start my series on test cases. We're going to be choosing websites and we're going to just do some simple checks on that till we find a few issues. I will not do the entire website. I might do one page, I might just do one issue. It would depend upon how it goes and progresses. Yeah, let's begin. Today I have chosen apple.com Canada to test. Okay, the first thing we are going to do is we're going to just look through this web page and see what elements are in here. Right on top, we see a nav bar, which is on it's a sticky nav bar, so all your content scrolls right under it. It's also very small in font size for a navigation system. I think the font size could have been bigger. I have low vision and I am finding it difficult to read. I hope that zoomability is working here. We will check for that. But when you see it, I think the font could have been a little bit bigger. Uh, Other than that, we see this is your hero area section and you have one product that's highlighted. You also have another product in the next panel, and then they go into a grid style where all the different products are displayed. There is a slideshow at the bottom, and it's good to have a slideshow to check for and test for. Also, they have again this small font here, which has some extra information, and they have their site map here, and you have the Canada English, French information here, the copyright with the copyright information. There's another small navigation system right there. Okay, the color contrast on the images, the text everywhere looks good to me. The buttons look good as well. I don't think we'll have issues with that, but we definitely have to consider the size of the font. The size of the font is small, which makes it also look like the color is a light gray, right? Right here, you feel like the color is a light gray and not a dark gray, but it's actually a dark gray, I think. Just the size of the font gives you that illusion. So something about accessibility is it is important to stick with the WCAG requirements, but do not be only limited to what is there, right? You also have to take into consideration the experience that you would provide to people with accessibility needs when they come to your website. This font can simply just be made bigger, um, and so it's more visible. This is just too small a font, and it also contrasts quite a lot with the rest of the content. Maybe that's the intention to get your attention to it, but the size of the font definitely is very small, so that can be made a little bit bigger. Okay, let's first run an automated run on this website. I'm going to do it with two tools. One is the Wave tool, Wave evaluation tool, and the other is the Axe Dev tools that I have. So let's start with the Wave tool. So here's my Wave evaluation tool, and I've run it on this page. I see there is one error which talks about an empty link. So there is an empty link here, okay, which means that there is no text between within the anchor tag, and that's the issue here. So the link contains no text really. So that's the first issue we've come up with. Other than that, it doesn't really have too many issues. Now let's see. Okay, this says very small text. Okay, and this very small text is pointing to the header section and the footer section, where you have the nav bar that we were just talking about. The very small font is been shown as an alert. Yeah. Okay. So that's good that it picks that up. Let's now also check it with the DevTools and see if it brings up any issues for us. Okay, so for which I'm going to basically inspect this. I will move the panel to the left side, and I'm going to find my Axe DevTools here and run a full page scan. Okay, very good. They just have one issue, which is again that links must have discernible text. That is the same issue that we saw with Wave, and it talks about there is an A here, okay, and it is an empty link. So if you're using something as a link, they're like this, has a unit link, href or whatever, the target is self. It has been given an ampersand NBSP, which is a space. So that's not text. It's not considered text, and that's why this issue is coming up. So links must have discernible text. It's a requirement to have a label, a text, to identify to identify links correctly, right? And then you have, because empty links would just read out link. It would not read out anything else. There's no text, but you know there is a link, but you don't know what that link is doing. So somebody with a screen reader is totally lost with that. Okay, so that's the only issue that this has brought up, which is a good thing. We are now going to check for the page title and the language attribute. The page title has to be unique for each and every section on this website. Like every page has to have a unique page title, and the language attribute has to be in place for the language that you're reading. Within this website, we also have a small part which would be a test for language in parts, which is here you have French. So this should actually be announced in French. The word français should be announced in French, right? So we can check that where let's do it right now. And you see over here, href, title, aria labels, page, and all. Yeah. So it has an aria label which is reading out in French. It has a title in French, yeah. So this has been set up to read out in French, which is a good thing. That's a requirement where we have a WCAG requirement for language in parts, which means that any part of your page which has a language which is different from the language that is being used here, then you have to be able to give that the in part lang attribute, right? And now we will check for titles. One way of checking is to just right click and go into inspect and look at the titles. So if I come in here within my head, I can find my title tag really quick. Here, and it says Apple Canada. Okay. If I go into store and then check my head and go into title, it says Apple Store Online, Apple Canada, which is unique. Let's do another random one, Safe Vision. And I go back into the head, and you can see that my title is saying Apple Vision Pro, Apple Canada. So it seems to be unique for all the different pages, which is a good thing. So the title is in place and it is unique. The language attribute is present here as well. So you can see over here we have an XML lang, which is because this, I think this website has been written using XML and XSLT. And so you have this XML lang here, and then you have lang is EN WCAG-CA. So you can see that even in the home page. Let's check that. It should be a little more clear here. So over here, you see XML lang en-ca and lang en-ca, right? So this is what you check for when you are looking for the lang attributes. Okay, the next thing we're going to check is for text spacing, making sure that when the text spacing is increased, no information is lost, nothing is overlapping, nothing is cut out. I don't think that should be an issue on this website because it looks pretty clean. So let's still check, and I will use my text spacing bookmarklet for this. So I'm clicking on that, and you've noticed that the text spacing moved some things around. Okay, so we've added that text spacing. What I'm seeing here is that text spacing has moved watch the film and learn more pre-order buttons onto the graphic image. And that is not very clear, right? I would, in a way, it's not that much of an issue because when you go over these buttons, you have the background which is changing to a very clear contrast with the background and with the text. And so this is not that much of an issue. But the fact that it's moved away from a white to a background which has an image can be a little bit distracting for people, but I don't really think this is that much of an issue just because we do have a proper background when you hover over it, right? Yeah. So the same has happened here. It has moved. Here again, you see that it has moved over the graphic. Here as well, it has moved over the graphic. Okay. Yeah, this is a little bit distracting. Nothing's gone behind or it's not got cut off. It's just overlapping a little bit with the graphic image in the back. There's not much control you can have about that. So I would just let's. I think it shouldn't be that much of an issue. So because we don't really have that kind of control, and so yeah, all of your elements are visible when you see. When you increase the text spacing. So yeah, I would say this is a pass because really when you put something on the background as an image, you don't really have so much control over it. The foreground and the background, they move as they want to. So we are going to quickly tab through and make sure that the tabbing order is good. The best tabbing order that you can have is from left to right, top to bottom. Right now, what we're going to just tab through are all the interactive elements on the page have to be tabbable, and that's what we're going to be checking for. Okay. Okay, let's come on to the slideshow. Okay. So the tabbing order, the basic tabbing order looks fine. It's going through all the elements of the page from left to right and top to bottom, and all areas of the page that need to be tabbed through with a keyboard are tabbable, they're interactive. So that's a good thing. Another very important aspect of ensuring keyboard accessibility is to make sure that you can tap to the submenus within your navigation system, right? Are your keys functional? Like, are you able to tab through it? Are you able to select and go to each of the tab panels within it? Are you able to exit that correctly? So we need to check for those. And that's what I'm going to do now. Um, I'm going to tab. Okay, so I'm going to move my mouse away. Okay, so we have come to this drop down. It should open up with either an enter or a space bar. So I'm going to check with an enter key, and it opens with an enter. It should be closable with an escape. So I'm able to close it with an escape. Can I open it with a space bar key as well? Yes, which is good. And if I have to enter this, I can use my down arrow. No. Okay. I can tab through. Okay, so to enter the menu they've using the tab key. Can I work with it with my arrow keys? I can't. It just closes. Arrow is working like an escape here. It's a little confusing for me that arrow should work as an escape key. But it's okay. So because if arrow works within a menu, you can move from Explore All Mac to Shop Mac to Mac Support, and you can very easily go down all the way till Education. Otherwise, you would need to tab through all of the menus to reach that Education, right? So right now I have to tab through because it's going top to bottom in this one, and then goes to the next Shop Mac, and then I can reach here only after that. Now, if I have to go back to Explore All Mac and using my Shift and Tab, I have to tab through all of them to go there. Can I not just use my arrow keys and go? No, it does not permit me to go with my arrow keys. My arrow keys are closing the menu for some reason on here. Okay, so and then after it's closing it, it's not taking me back there, right? So the arrow key either has to be disabled, or the arrow key should function like it should within a menu. Right now it is functioning like an escape, but it's not taking you back to where you started, right? So I don't know where I am. So Shift Tab, I want to go back in there. I go do this. If I tab in there and I say escape, it takes me back to that arrow. So that's not happening with the arrow key. Okay, so that's a little bit of a flaw here. Otherwise, it seems to tab well. I'm very curious to know why they have a separate, like a drop down for the menu, and this for I think it goes to a page, right? If I'm not mistaken, this would go to a page, and then this arrow would go to the menu. Now you see the size of the font is so small that it's very difficult to differentiate between the two there, right? Now your target size is also very small. What if I have a touch screen and I'm touching and choosing? Okay, I'm not working with a keyboard. Even then, even then, this space is too small. It's not visible first, and when it's visible only upon using the keyboard. Tabbing into it makes it visible. Otherwise, it's not visible, right? So I'm not sure if I'm not using a keyboard. Now, this is another scenario. I'm not using a keyboard, but I have, like the modern screens, they have touchpads. So you can basically touch through your screen and navigate. What happens if that's the case? I don't even know that those arrows are there, right? So if I come on here, that still doesn't tell me that there is this arrow till I have tabbed to the next one. So that's another issue here. Yes, the size of the font is very small. I'm struggling actually looking at it. But the way it's functioning is pretty okay in terms of the keys, just that the arrow key that they were using within as like an escape key, that is a little bit of a confusion. Also, I correct me if I'm wrong, just this is the community of testers. Shouldn't this also have a button which can take you out from this and not just the escape key? I think that is more, makes it more accessible, because you also can see a button which will bring you out of the navigation. So you have a way out of the navigation in case your escape key is not working, right? Or you don't know that you have to use the escape key. At least there is a way to come out of this. That's just my thought. I might be totally wrong on that one, but yeah. And yeah, this is pretty good actually. Okay. One of the most important checks to do is to check with a screen reader. I'm using VoiceOver. I'm working on a Mac machine, so we will use a VoiceOver to kind of hear and see if all the content over here is translated correctly to the screen reader user. Okay.
Navigation. Visited, link, store, list 2 items, level 2. Store menu, expanded, button, group. Visited, link, shop the latest Apple products, list shop 8 items. Link, Mac. Link, iPad. Link, iPhone. Link, Apple Watch. Link, Apple Vision Pro. Link, AirPods. Link, accessories. Link, find a store, list quick links 5 items. Link, order status. Link, Apple trade-in. Link, business. Link, Apple Watch. Store menu, expanded, button, group. Visited, link, shop the latest Apple, link, AirPods. Link, visited, link, shop the latest Apple products. Store menu, expanded, button, group.
I don't know if I'm experiencing a mousetrap here, because I am using the same keys. I'm saying tab and it enters into this, but do my arrow keys work? Arrow keys are not working.
Store menu,
okay.
Collapsed, button, group. Visited, link, Mac, list 2 items, level 2.
Okay, and I'm pressing now tab and to enter the menu.
Mac menu, expanded, button, group.
This is so confusing. This is so confusing. Let's start over again. Let's start from, I'm going to tab back to the Apple icon, and let's start traversing the menu from there, because I think I'm getting confused here.
Mac menu, visited, store, visited, link, Apple, list 4 items.
Okay, so we are here on the Apple menu. It says list 4 items. I'm not sure about that. Okay, let's now move to the next item.
Visited, link, store, list 2 items, level 2.
It goes to store. It says list 2 items, level 2. What is it talking about? Okay. Within the store, the menu has opened up. Okay. Which was not happening when we just did a keyboard tab, right? It didn't open this menu. it opened the menu when it went to that arrow, not here. But this menu has opened up and it has announced that the menu is expanded right here. Now, if I say tab, would it take me to the arrow or would it take me into the menu is my question, okay? So I'm pressing tab right now.
Store menu, expanded, button, group.
So it's repeating the same information. It's gone to the down arrow, but it's telling me expanded menu again. Okay, so right now, assuming I cannot see, I have made the assumption that the store has a separate menu opening up and the arrow has a separate menu opening up. Okay, now if I say tab, what happens?
Visited, link, shop the latest Apple products, list shop 8 items.
So it's gone into the menu.
Link, Mac.
Okay. If I press escape, where does it take me, right? So I'm going to press escape here.
Store menu, expanded, button, group.
It's very interesting because it took me back to the arrow key and it has expanded that menu again. Now, if I say I want to move to Mac, right? And I press the tab key with the hopes that I'm going to move to the next menu item, what happens?
Visited, link, shop the latest Apple products, list shop 8 items.
It brings me back into the menu again. Again, I'm going to do the same thing just to make sure that that's what we are seeing. When I press escape,
store menu, expanded, button, group.
It takes me back here, but my menu is expanded, so I am tabbing back into the menu. The escape key should ensure that this submenu is collapsed. So you can move from here to Mac. Okay, so this is a keyboard trap. Look, again, I say
visited,
tab,
link, shop the latest Apple products, list shop 8 items.
And now how do I know how should I go out of here? I press escape.
Store menu, expanded, button, group.
I'm stuck here. Now I will have to think about pressing escape again here without pressing tab, so I don't have to come in here, but I'm already confused. Okay, so let's see what happens when I press escape.
Store menu, collapsed, button, group.
So now the expanded menu has collapsed, but that should have just happened when I had pressed escape out of the menu, right? Tab.
Visited, link,
takes
Mac,
me to the
list
next
2
one,
items,
thankfully.
level 2.
It's taken me to the next menu item, thankfully, which is good. This is expanded as well.
Mac menu, expanded, button, group.
Again, the confusion because it has expanded the menu on the first, when you land on Mac, which was in the keyboard press. It did not do that when we went through with the keyboard. That was a different experience. It did not do that. But here it's opened the menu and then you are taken again, when you say tab, you're taken to the drop down arrow, which again is declaring that this menu is open. So I'm confused. I feel like there are 2 menus, submenus that I've gone through, and I'm actually confused because when it opened the menu for me and I said tab, right? I am assuming it's taking me into the menu, but it took me to the drop-down menu, which announced another menu to me. It took me to the drop-down button, right? So it's confusing.
Visited, link, explore all Mac, visited, link, MacBook Neo.
Okay. Now what happens if I press the arrow key here?
Apple, Canada, web content.
So I pressed the down arrow key. It closed the menu. It said Apple, Canada, web content. Now if I say tab.
Entering Apple, Canada web content. Visited, link, iPad, list 2 items, level 2.
It took me to the next item. Again, I'm going to try just pressing down arrow. It's closed the menu. The menu is collapsed now. I don't know about it. There is a change of context. Nobody's told me about it. Okay, so we don't know that the menu is collapsed. So for me, if I can't see the screen, I'm assuming the menu is still open. Okay.
iPad menu, expanded, button, group.
So it's gone to, oh, this is very confusing. I'm sorry, this is really confusing for somebody using a screen reader.
Visited,
Okay.
link, iPad mini.
So it just goes through the menu well, which is good. And nothing tells me that there is a close button. There isn't a close navigation button here anywhere anyway, so I'm not going to tab through, but there isn't that. That's fine. But escape should give me a clear way to go out of this menu, right? But escape is doing something like
iPad menu, expanded, button, group.
expanding that menu again. So I think now that I have come out of the menu and it's expanded the menu again, another menu, the same menu. Anyway, I think I'll stop here. We have identified a few issues. Otherwise, this is an awesome website. I really hope they work on the menu a little more. They give us a clearer menu with a slightly bigger font, and that can be traversed more easily with assistive devices. But otherwise, Apple is great. I love their products and I love their website as well. Okay. Bye bye. Thank you so much. I'm going to stop right here and hope to see you in another video because this video is going to get really long if I continue. And there are so many tabs. I might do it on my own time. But for this video, I'm going to stop right here. Thank you. Please, if you like the content on here, like, subscribe, and share. I forget. I'm sorry. Yeah.